All right, we're going to talk a little bit about team leaders and club improvement. And I've got a handout for you, but you don't get it yet. Okay, because if I do, you might cheat and look at some of the things I got on here. I want you to take some notes on this as we go through, because we're going to be talking amongst ourselves. This is going to be a group effort here. And we're going to talk about what does it take to be a team leader. How do you help your president-elects choose the team leaders for their club? So the first thing we're going to talk about, what does a team leader look like? When you're talking to them, what do you hear? What are some of the traits that you might expect to hear from a team, from somebody that's going to be a leader, a team leader? Anybody?
Positive tone.
Positive
tone.
Positive tone.
Positivity.
Okay, like maybe confidence,
yep.
That kind of thing. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
But being positive.
Excitement.
Excitement. Somebody that's excited. What else? Now, those are good things to write down because they're on my list.
Communicate their vision.
They're able to communicate well. Communicate their vision. What else?
They don't use the word I all the time.
In Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, he identifies the leaders that take their companies from being good to being great. And one of the attributes he talks about there is humility. People that are humble, and where they don't care who gets the credit. In fact, they would probably prefer to hand the credit to somebody else and give them the credit so to help them and bolster their own confidence. How about somebody who's winsome? Somebody who people really will like, people could really relate to. That kind of thing. How about somebody that's attentive? If you're talking to somebody, and Bill, if I'm talking to you, but I'm constantly, looking around like that, how confident are you in me that I'm going to hear what you say? Yeah, you're not. I was actually visiting a church one time for a conference we were there for, and the senior pastor at that church was in the corridor talking to one of the parishioners, and he was so focused on that person. There were hundreds of people walking by. All of them. His head and his eyes never moved from that person. Now there is a guy who's leading his church. That's a guy who's leading. So somebody who's attentive. What else? Anything else? Okay. Now let me ask you this. How do you think most of your clubs select their leaders? Their presidents-elect, for instance, or the president nominees. How do you think they do it? Come on, Chad, you're smiling over there.
It's who's willing and who's available, and
okay.
Maybe who said they at the time.
Last
Who
person
hasn't already
up,
been a
right?
leader.
Right, who hadn't done yet.
Who wants to be president?
Yeah, whoever missed the meeting.
Yeah, and whoever missed the meeting. That's one I have on here too. Okay, is that a good way to do it? No. Okay, so how are you going to go back and help your president-elects and maybe the president nominees, help them select the people who are going to follow them, or the people that they want to head up some of their major committees? How are you going to help them select those folks?
Succession plan?
Yeah, you want to help them establish a succession plan. But even in that, you have to make sure it's not last man standing or last person standing to take that over. So how are you going to help them look at this? One of the ways you're going to have now the disc thing that Jimmy talked about a little while ago. I'm going to trip over the knee. I have to tell you, I can't stand still. I have to tell you that I am a high I and a D after that. And I am married to a high C. So when Jimmy was talking about getting on each other's nerves, okay, but when you're helping them select people, if you're going to look at this president, the president is a high I. How are you going to help them? You can help them look at people who are going to complement what they do. If they're an I, we don't like to be called unorganized, by the way. We like to be called less structured. If you have someone who is less structured as going to be the president, you probably want to have somebody that's a C as the secretary or the treasurer or both in that club, right? So you want to help them look at the personality types do that. Now, so when you're in some other things that you're looking at for selecting people for communities. What are some other things you might be looking at?
Who has a passion for whatever you're asking?
Who has the passion for it? That's on my list.
I didn't read it either.
How about
vocational service? What they already do.
Okay, yeah, professional ability or experience. That's one of those things. What else? it kind of goes along with passion. What are their personal interests? You know, it's maybe something they're not terribly passionate about, but they're at least interested in, like do get involved with, that kind of thing. So maybe something like that. How about talents? Does that come in? You know, if you've got somebody that is just, you know, a comedian in the club, maybe they should be your social chair. You know, something. Maybe they could put together something like that. How about people who've been in leadership before and how they did in that? You know, looking back at that, again, it's kind of an experience thing, but how do you know that somebody's leadership ability would be right if they haven't had it? So we're gonna let me move on. Is there a way other than pre-pets and pets itself that you can help your club presidents so that they can help them prepare, help prepare your club presidents that they can use? I can't read what I wrote here. I hope you're going to be better at this than I am. Okay. Less structure. Okay. Here's what I mean. How can you prepare your club presidents-elect to prepare their committee leaders? That's basically the gist of what I have written. How can you do that? Other than that, okay, because pets and pre-pets are going to be talking a lot about how they're going to lead, how they're going to inspire, how they're going to run their club. How can you help them help their committee chairs? Does that make sense? You've got a whole stack of books over here, right? I will guarantee you that when those get back to the club and they get handed out to the secretary and the treasurer and all these other things, about 1% of those people might actually read through there or page through and look at it a little bit. Am I right? I mean, is that what happens most of the time? So there's also a book over there that has this, that is the president, Lead Your Club, the president. It's 80 pages. You're not going to go through and read the whole thing maybe. You should, perhaps, try to get through there. Highlight some things in there that are the most important topics. Review those with your club presidents, and then encourage your club presidents to do the same with their committee chairs, with their various little manuals. They don't have to read the whole thing, but if they'll go through there, I mean, most of it is bulleted some, or it has a, you know, like a heading. They'll say, here, we're going to be talking about this thing. Pick some of those things out, particularly if it's something you know that person may be a little bit weak in, to help them figure that out. And then, you know, get the club presidents on board, as has already been mentioned several times. Rod mentioned it. Get them on board for the district training events. Those things are absolutely wonderful for what they can get out of that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about club improvement. The single, and I'll hand these other things out to you as we're doing that. You pass those down, and if you'll pass those down, who put this plug in the middle of the floor? The single best resource I have found to help your clubs become vibrant clubs is publication number 245EN-A. 245EN-A, and it's called Be a Vibrant Club. Okay? This little book right here has no how-to in it. It does not give you any how-to. However, it does, this is, by the way, a little excerpt I pulled out of Leading Your Club President's Manual. It has little bullet points in here again, numbered, with different things like decide where your club wants to be in 3 to 5 years. How many of your presidents, you think, how many of your club boards ever sit down and actually look at that and try to do that? And it has some ideas here that you can look at. For instance, and this is one of the things you're going to hear me talk about in membership a lot as well. Does your club mirror the community in which it is based? And I'm talking about racially, I'm talking about gender, I'm talking about economics, everything that has to do with it. How does your club mirror the community in which it's based. If it doesn't, maybe you want to set some goals. The other part is get those goals in Rotary Club Central. It talks about holding assemblies and communicating with your club. We heard some of these are some of the things that you guys mentioned a little while ago, people who communicate. It's talking about developing leaders and preparing for a smooth transition, which we're, again, choosing those leaders. Helping people with their bylaws, building strong relationships in the club, getting members involved with their interests, coaching and current members and coaching new and current members in leading. And it's just really, really good. Not that you're going to do all of it, you can't, but pick and choose some of those things and help the club presidents maybe individually pick and choose one or two of those things that they can focus on that will help their club become a vibrant club. One of the clubs, and I'm going to digress here just a minute, but one of the clubs in the district in Jamie's area has a club president this year who is absolutely phenomenal in what he's doing to help his club become vibrant. The result of that is that club is up now over 10 members for the year, net plus 10 or 11 now, maybe. Because they've become a vibrant club and because they're focusing on the things they need to be focusing on. And one of the things that he does, by the way, is every new member that comes in, he schedules a breakfast with the president with that new member and sits down and talks to them about Rotary and about their role, what's going to look like. Okay, so what's the first step in club improvement? We just talked about it. What's the first step? What do you have to do?
Build a team.
That's one of the things, but even before that,
Know your goals.
you have to set your goal. You have to know, what do you want your club to look like? Where are you going to go? What is it? What do you need? And then what do you need to do to get there? So you're going to set your goals. Diversity, size, member engagement, all those things are important in helping you to decide what you want your club to look like. And are your clubs, the clubs in your area, tracking their goals and progress? We're going to look at Rotary Club Central a little bit later this afternoon when I was preparing for that, and I'm going to have to, Rod and I are going to do that together because Bill Oliver is not going to make it this today to help us with that. But, one of the things, when I started looking through there, I was trying to find a club that had goals in all the different categories and we're actually tracking them. And I went through quite a few before I actually found a good example. So, are your clubs doing that? I just hate to tell you this. Our own club is not doing well.
No, most of them aren't.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the result of the mid-year AG meeting, is that across the district, clubs are struggling with Rotary Club Central.
Well, how can we help with that? Well, we're going to go through a session here this afternoon. You'll see it has actually become a lot easier to do. It really has. There's a lot more in it, but it's become a lot easier. And I forgot who it was a couple of years ago. They're not here now. They're talking about how you had to click and then go get a cup of coffee and a sandwich and then come back and, well, you know, it might be back by the time. That has changed. It's gotten a lot better. So you'll find that you can do that. So we're going to try to help you with how to do that. And David already mentioned it's no longer the presidential citation, it's the Rotary citation. But the only way they can get it is to track all the stuff through Rotary Club Central. That's where it's coming from. If they're not tracking there, it ain't going to happen. Do the members in your club actually know what's going on in their board meetings and with the board, and what the decisions the boards are making? How's that communication going? Anybody have anything you want to share? It's important. Why? Why is it so important? Being a vibrant club. If the club members don't know what they're doing, what the club's doing, if they don't know what the board decisions are and how they're trying to lead the club, they may feel disconnected and they may not really care. You know, this guy, the professor, wrote on the board one day, great big letters because the class was not doing well. He wrote, "What's wrong with this class?" And he wrote, A, P, A, T, H, Y. One guy in the back said, "Apathy? What's that?" The guy next to him said, "Who cares?" So we can't be like that. We have to make sure the club members understand what's going on, so they don't have that apathy about what's about the club, so that they really care. And how can they communicate that? Well, obviously, how many of your clubs hold regular club assemblies? Y'all know that you have clubs in your area that do that. That's good, and that's one of the ways that information can be passed along. Another thing that we need to do to help the clubs improve is to help them figure out how to engage, and engage. If they're not engaged, and this goes from the president to the club chair, the committee chairs down. If they are not finding ways to engage their members in the activities of the club, that's where, David mentioned that the bucket with the people falling out, the members falling out the bottom of it. That's how we can seal that hole. We can't seal it completely because life happens, but we can seal that by helping keep people engaged. So think of some ways that you can help your club presidents to do that, to get the members involved, especially the new members. And again, I mentioned that breakfast with the president. And then the final thing is, should we be promoting our business in Rotary? That's a hot topic. Should we be promoting our businesses in Rotary? Well, I've been reading recently the history of the Rotary Club. There was a 100th anniversary history book that came out on Rotary. Paul Harris and his friends initially started Rotary, although it wasn't called that the first few times they met, but they actually started the club to be a business club. And fellowship. Service wasn't even on the radar at that point. But it was to be, and the reason because this club was developed or came up with in Chicago, Illinois, in the early 1900s. What was going on in Chicago in the early 1900s?
Moonshine, gangsters.
Moonshine, gangs, all kinds of fraud and corruption, all this kind of stuff. Graft. So, and some people say it hadn't changed a whole lot, but that's what was going on. And so Paul Harris looked around and he said, I can't deal with this kind of environment. And he's got some of his other friends are the same way. So when they started putting themselves together, their idea was ethical, upright business relationships, and they're going to support each other in business. And they did. That was a big part of what they did. So why shouldn't we continue today to give our members an opportunity to do that, whether it's the Spotlight Rotarian like Lexington Club does, or whether it's just doing your classification. We need to change that too, from classification talks to career talks, or whatever you want to call it, personal moments, or anything like Rotarian of the Week. Let somebody tell about what they do and that kind of. Because I got to tell you, and this is I believe this strongly. We have in our club a guy who could do my personal insurance stuff, my auto, home, all that kind of thing. The guy I've been doing that with for years, I've been telling him all along, you really ought to consider joining Rotary. You should really try to. He wouldn't do it, just kept coming up with all these excuses why he couldn't do Rotary. And so I felt strongly enough about that I have changed, stayed with the same insurer, same company, but different agent. And I moved it all over to the guy that's in our club. Because I want to do business with Rotarian. Mm-hmm. Who doesn't want to do business with the Rotarian? Because if we believe and adhere to the 4-way test, and we know that about Rotarians, how comfortable can you be with that? So yes, have them do something that, because there is actually something that you'll hear about called Rotary Means Business, and it does. Questions? Anything you want to add? Okay. Thank you all very much.